The epic conflict of a second Titanamachy has ended, leaving the gods victorious, but greatly weakened. The throne of Olympus rests empty, and the world of mortal men has been devastated by the divine conflict. With the gates of the underworld having been ripped asunder, many heroes and monsters of old have returned from the Styx triumphant, new vigour pulsing in their veins, ready to embellish their legends still further. But as old heroes don their armour once more, old rivalries are also renewed. Achilles. Once considered the greatest of all the Greek warriors, all men know of his prowess in battle. But his legend cost him dear.
I would rather live as a slave among the living than as a ruler among these lifeless corpses of men.
So Achilles is desperate to return to the living, but over his glorious past hangs a most inglorious shadow. Hector, Troy's greatest warrior and prince. It is known that Hector once unwittingly killed Patroclus, who was much loved by Achilles. In his great rage, Achilles took his revenge upon the Trojan prince, killing him outside the walls of Troy, mistreating his body, and denying him proper funeral rites for 12 days. Even in the stupor of the deceased, Hector has not forgotten this dishonour, nor have the gods that favour him. And so the stage is set for their most bloody reunion. The fates have decreed that only one of these heroes may once again walk the earth, for the other, oblivion. Welcome back to Nameless Seraphim Gaming. We proudly present our second scenario playthrough from Mythic Battles Pantheon. Finding your form is the first mission in the two-player campaign Vengeance or Glory, which can be found in the Mythic Battles Pantheon Compendium. Unlike the Hydra Hunt, this is a competitive scenario, and I'm pleased to welcome two long-time friends of the channel and Mythic Battles enthusiasts to take command of our heroes. Mari-Annette will lead Achilles, one of her favourite heroes, into battle.
This scenario is going to be a tough one, but I know with Achilles on my side, we will be victorious.
Whilst Jack O'Diamond will look to stack the odds in Hector's favour.
Hey, I'm Jack, and I'm really excited to play this battle. This small-scale scenario will mean tactics are everything, and I can't wait to beat Achilles in battle.
You find our heroes on the outskirts of Tartarus. Once a prison to the Titans, this infernal realm is now eerily quiet. The cages that once bound the enemies of the gods, ripped asunder by the cataclysm in Olympus. And yet these metal bars and chains still retain some of their potency. 3 long chain barriers cut through this location. Crossing these chains takes great effort, and will immediately end a run or walk action, so our heroes will need to plan their movements carefully. The Tartarus cages present no hindrance to heroes and troops, which are small enough to pass freely between the bars. But they do block line of sight and provide some additional defence from ranged attacks. Our heroes emerge and deploy at one end of this prison. Before they can fully ascend from the underworld, Achilles and Hector must first recover their strength by absorbing 2 of the blue Omphalos shards to reactivate both of their special powers. The first to do so will have gained a great advantage for the struggles to come. And yet, even without their own powers, they are not powerless. By offering Omphalos to their patron deities, they may also channel the gifts of whichever god they have chosen to honour. The presence of such renowned warriors has already begun to attract new followers to their cause. Alongside Achilles, a pack of infernal warriors now march. These foul creatures are almost as indestructible as their new master, being stronger and more resilient in large numbers.
The Infernal Warriors have an ability that at the end of each activation means they can regenerate. Therefore, even though Hector had ranged troops that could potentially pick them off, there was a high likelihood that they would then regenerate and still be a full threat.
Yet the honour of Hector has not gone unnoticed even in these dark places. He is joined by a contingent of Spartans, fierce warriors with the ability to throw their opponents into adjacent areas. The Amazons have also rallied to his cause, and their attacks may prove more than mere nuisance to Achilles' forces.
I wanted to pick a ranged troop to deal damage to Achilles while he did not have his endurance ability, and I wanted another troop to stand by Hector and protect him while potentially using Wall of Troy.
3 troop units, 2 heroes, 1 legend. Let battle commence. Blades sharpened and shields glistening in the dim light of a domain no mortal was ever meant to see, our heroes emerge cautiously flanked by their troops. Both our heroes are all too aware of the importance of reaching the central shard before their nemesis. To allow its absorption unchallenged would leave them struggling to recover ground before their opponent acquires a second shard. With this in mind, Hector begins a run, followed by his Spartan retinue. Achilles too runs for the central shard, the snarling infernal warriors keeping pace with abhorrent stamina. Hector and the Spartans reach their target first, though it has taken 2 full activations to achieve, but Achilles and the infernal warriors arrive mere moments later. Hector has no time to waste, absorbing the Omphalos Shard and in so doing, regaining his power Wall of Troy. This power will now prevent any enemy unit from entering the same area as Hector while one of Hector's allied troops is with him, but the threat has already arrived. Barely has his blood quickened with renewed power than a flicker of bronze warns him to raise his shield just in time. Achilles, much diminished and yet somehow no less the fighter than on that tragic day of their first battle. Furious at having been denied this first prize, he breaks the shield of his enemy and cuts into his armour, reducing Hector's vitality by 2. The force of the blow is such that Hector is thrown into an adjacent space and further from the remaining shards. The Spartans move to their wounded leader's side in case Achilles intends to press his attack, but Achilles is focused only on his escape from the underworld, running towards one shard while dispatching the infernal warriors after the other.
If Hector gets to even with the shards before my forces, it's pretty much game over. I think my best option is to split forces so at least one of my units are in the shard spaces. It may be difficult to hold those areas, but if I can claim the shards, at least I have a chance.
Hector signals the Amazons to take a run action to occupy a rock outcrop from which they will have considerable advantage with their ranged attacks once they have caught their breaths. Achilles clasps hold of his first Omphalos shard, restoring his prowess power. From now on, whenever Achilles rolls blank dice on the first roll of an attack, he may choose to convert these dice into 1s. An Art of War card is spent to draw 2 further cards.
The second shard has been lost, but Achilles and his troops have been separated. Now is the time to block off his path.
Victory rests on the recovery of the final shard on the board, and it is now claimed and guarded by Achilles' infernal warriors. Achilles' forces have the final shard, but Hector is closer, though it takes him and his Spartans a full activation each to cross the chain boundary before them. Achilles, spotting an opportunity to slow his adversary's advance, walks to an Omphalos and grips it tightly to make offering to the gods if needed. Hector orders his Spartan allies to delay Achilles by all means necessary. Only one of their swords can find a chink in Achilles' masterful defence, but without his endurance power, it is enough to reduce Achilles' vitality. Hector seizes the opportunity to get ahead of his enemy. Passing over the great chain barrier that lies between him and the shard takes his full movement action, but as he pauses, he spots something glinting in the dust. Extending the ruby Omphalos to the heavens, he dedicates this worthy treasure to the only deity that can get him closer to his objective.
Ares, accept this gift. and if you find it worthy, grant me your courage, your vigour, and your violence.
Ares, much pleased with this offering, imbues Hector with his frenzy power, allowing the prince to choose to take an additional walk and/or attack action. His strength renewed, Hector moves a further space towards the infernal warriors, hoping to wrestle the shard from them alone before Achilles can catch him up. The infernal warriors do not wait for his approach. They descend upon the Trojan prince, scythes threatening to decapitate him where he stands. Hector's mastery of the blade has left him uninjured from the infernal warriors' first attack, but he has no delusions as to the threat they represent. He signals the Amazons to unleash a volley of arrows from their vantage upon the rock. One warrior crumbles to dust, and Hector's own sword dispatches a second. Achilles, seeing the tide of battle turning against him, breaks from his combat with the Spartans and runs towards the Trojan prince, but it may already be too late, for with a single stroke of Hector's sword, the last infernal warriors are reduced to sand. Sand amongst which Hector spies the gleam of that which he has been seeking. He stretches out his hand to grasp the final Omphalos shard. He need only absorb it, and he will be restored to his former power, and yet before he can do so, another figure steps into the clearing.
Give me what I want, and you may walk away from this fight alive, Hector.
Achilles, your wits have decayed as much as your army if you think I will surrender my prize without a fight.
So be it.
As if it was always predestined, our heroes clash in single combat, the sound of their swords ringing out across Tartarus. Achilles finds weakness in Hector's defence and slices neatly through the prince's armour, leaving him badly wounded. The Spartans charge towards their leader, hoping to reach him in time to assist. A bloodied Hector tries to raise the shard to his lips. If he could only absorb it, this fight could still be his, but it is not to be.
I had the choice of attacking with the Amazons, or getting the Spartans over to save Hector. I thought the Spartans would be able to potentially throw Achilles to make him drop the shard, and then Hector could have used Wall of Troy so no one could enter that space. That didn't pan out because I didn't have a Spartan activation card.
Achilles, realising there is no time to waste, strikes Hector once more. Hector falls to the dirt, his head struck against the hard ground, knocking him senseless, and the shard slips from his grasp. Achilles casts aside the Omphalos he carries.
The gods are fickle. I will finish this myself.
And takes up the shard. There is a blinding flash across the expanse of Tartarus, and when it is gone, Achilles has vanished. With his endurance power restored, there is nothing further to be gained here. Hector is left to tend his wounds and plan his next move, for once again Achilles has left him bleeding in the dirt, snatching victory from him like a thief, and in the recently deceased chest of the Trojan prince beats the bitter fire of vengeance. A surprisingly close and frenetic clash between two of history's most renowned heroes. It just goes to show that even the smaller Mythic Battles scenarios can be epic. At points it seemed like either of our competitors might carry the day, but first blood goes to Mari-Annette. Jack, commiserations, Hector couldn't quite pull it off in this scenario.
Well, I wasn't expecting the Infernal Warriors to be so hard to kill.
I think the interesting thing about that decision is your instinct is, okay, they are troops, keep them away from Hector, who is a hero. Was there any part of you that was thinking, this could go horribly wrong?
Yeah, I did think about the option of running towards the rock, but my thinking was, if I run, I'll get slowly picked off by the Amazons or Hector or both, and still be equally as far away from Achilles. But if I go on the offence, alright, I might not kill him, but I might slow him down enough that he can't do as much damage to me.
What about the Amazons, Jack? They didn't seem to get a lot of action in this one. Is that just how it played out, or...?
They were in a good spot to attack everything, but there was a lot of movement required, and because I didn't take Hector's bravery, I couldn't easily move both troops around. The Amazons could have gone into phalanx with Hector, but they wouldn't have done any meaningful damage to Achilles, so it felt more strategic to get the Spartans back to him.
I couldn't believe it when I saw you didn't have a Spartan activation card. I was so sure that was coming.
either a Spartan card or an Art of War card to search for one, but yeah, oh well. Luck of the draw, I guess.
That felt like a repeating theme in this scenario. There were a lot of points where a different roll or a draw of a card could have made all the difference.
It was very close, and despite having smaller troops and less of an army, you had big impacts.
I hope you'll join me in thanking our guest players for showing off this scenario in such exciting form. We've got lots of Mythic Battles content coming, including more gameplay and a tutorial on how we made our 3D Tartarus cages for this battle. These gameplay videos are a production challenge for our small channel, so if you have enjoyed the result, it would mean the world to us if you would share it with your friends. Achilles emerges from Tartarus victorious, but his journey from Hades' realm has only just begun, and those that doubt Hector's fortitude know nothing of the Trojan prince. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to ensure you do not miss the next instalment of this thrilling conflict. Until we venture across the Styx once more, work hard, play better, and take care out there.